Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, and keep watching this video if you want to continue to exist. Now throughout this video we're going to be breaking down the 5th episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and discussing everything you need to know about the latest entry. Obviously there will be heavy spoilers here, so if you don't want anything ruined then I highly recommend that you turn off now. Please drop a thumbs up if you enjoy the video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for breakdowns on the show every week. Without further ado, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into our breakdown. Okay, so the 5th episode picks up in 1973 with by far the best intro ever. Soon as that theme tune and the graphics started up, I was absolutely dying, and the entire entry follows this style, with it pretty much becoming a 70s cop drama. I used to love in TV shows when characters would look at the camera and smile in the intro, and to do it here, I just found it absolutely hilarious. By far the best decade within the first minute of the show. It takes us to New York City, and here we watch the events of a trout in the milk play out. Now, it's not something I've heard before today, but the phrase "a trout in the milk" means drawing conclusions from circumstantial evidence. A trout in the milk sort of means that the milk's been watered down, because the dairy farmer was clearly dipping the milk pail into a stream to add more water to it, and though you can't prove that's what happened, you can sort of draw conclusions by there being a fish in the liquid. Anyway, we'll talk about how this ties into the episode later, but it is something you should bear in mind with what happens. The episode starts off with Coulson very much taking a trip down memory lane, and he remembers the stereotypical New York where taxi drivers are constantly beeping their horn and people shout, "Hey, I'm walking here," every 5 minutes. Sousa is having a bad time blending in, and he starts to contemplate that he may have always been pulled out of time. It's a theory that we had last week, and personally I side with the idea that he was always plucked out by the agents, making everything a perfect loop. They go to the Swordfish Bar from the first episode, and this time, instead of someone sliding open the door and asking for a password, you just type it into a code panel. It's a nice switch up that shows just how far things have come, including Enoch, who he learn's been there for 40 years. He literally had one job, eh? I know we said that last week, but it's still a good joke, and let's be honest, there's not many of them on the channel. Now, back on board the Zephyr, Simmons starts to tease that Fitz will be appearing soon. There's a theory that when we catch up to him, he's going to be much older than everyone else, but as of yet, we don't know. Gemma also has something on the back of her neck that makes it seem like she might be an LMD, so yes, we're back on that theory. I actually think it's something different, as the EMP at Area 51 didn't disable her, but perhaps she is far more advanced than the others are. However, bear in mind that Simmons built Coulson using the same LMD technology, so it doesn't make sense that he would short out and she wouldn't. Again, they might just change the rules up and have things be inconsistent, but we'll see as we get further into the show. Gemma does complain that she's getting forgetful, but we never quite find out what's going on with her. But yes, the LMD theory is indeed back. Elsewhere, Mack and Yoyo go to the Lighthouse, which is supposedly meant to be abandoned due to S.H.I.E.L.D. vacating it in 1972. Mack is trying to make a move, but Yoyo, who always bounces back, is still having a hard time. I'm kinda getting a bit meh on the whole her doubting herself, as they're doing it pretty much every week. And I don't know, I'm just getting a bit tired of it. Now, before they can dwell on it too much, they discover that something in the timeline has changed, and people are still in the facility, which does add a lot of intrigue to the show. Throughout the episode, they learn that it's a launch pad for Hydra, which plays into the overall plot of the entry. In the speakeasy, we learn that Enoch has been missing for over a year, and the agents come across General Rick Stoner, or Little Ricky for short. If you recognize his voice, it's because he plays Joe in Family Guy, and he introduces Wilfred Malik. Malik should have died 3 years prior, however the Chronicoms have changed the timeline. We actually got a theory right that I was quite surprised about, and because of the Chronicoms, Project Insight has had a 40-year head start. Through satellites instead of helicarriers, Hydra can now kill all those that could potentially pose a threat to them. I was genuinely just throwing out one of the big Hydra S.H.I.E.L.D. events last week as a theory, so was actually quite surprised when it came true, but it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it more. This plan would completely decimate S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that could oppose Hydra, leading to there being no way to stop the Chronicoms in the future. We learn that there's a target list which includes some notable people such as Peggy Carter, star of the hit show Agents of Carter, Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., who of course formed the Avengers, Bruce Banner, who you already know, Betty Wright, a 70s soul singer, and Jim Morita, who was one of the Howling Commandos. There's also Victoria Hand on the list, who you might remember from the other series of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and the rest are political figures and activists. This is the titular Trout in the milk, and though Coulson is unable to verify that the Chronicoms had anything to do with it, all the evidence points towards it. In The Winter Soldier, the names were compiled by an algorithm created by Zola. However, here they've been given by the Chronicoms, who are of course aware of future events. May goes to make the moves on Stoner, and we learn that though they're close to launching Project Insight, it's still 3 years away. We also meet a younger Gideon Malik, who starts flirting with Daisy. This is obviously bad because it could trigger her into killing him, which she seems to want to do to every character in every episode. However, she changes her mind and steps away after being helped along by Sousa. I'm definitely starting to ship Sousa and Daisy, and I really hope that the two end up together because the man deserves some happiness. Daisy and Sousa sneak into the hidden room in the speakeasy that she learnt about in 1931, which is where they discover the list. Coulson gets made by Malik, and the Chronicoms arrive, but Daisy is able to get them out of there by holding Nathaniel Malik hostage. In earlier seasons, Nathaniel was sacrificed to the Hive. However, due to the timeline changing, he's still alive, and thus they're able to properly threaten Wilfred. Enoch arrives outside and says,
"Come with me if you want to continue to exist."
Which is of course a play on the line that's been laced throughout the Terminator franchise. The Chronicoms realise that they're going to change the timeline further, and thus they carry out another jump to 1976, which of course forces the Zephyr to go there too. As we know, this is the year that Project Insight will launch, and the group enact their plan to infiltrate the base. I love the scene in which Daisy shows Sousa how a phone works, and shortly after, Nathaniel arrives and knocks them out with a stun gun. Coulson and May enter the Lighthouse, and Yoyo and Deke go to Malik's estate. Malik has been visited once more by the Chronicoms, and they gave him a photograph of Mack's parents, who we learn have been taken hostage and are now at the Lighthouse. In the Lighthouse, May and Coulson try and talk Stone out of launching the satellites, but May just knocks him out when she realises through her empathy abilities that she can sense it's not working. It seems like the plan is working though. However, Malik begins to reveal that the Chronicoms know absolutely everything. Deke cuts his speech short by shooting him, and he's able to do this because Malik was meant to be dead at this point, so it doesn't really matter. However, it did matter to me, as this guy has just been a pest throughout the season, so I'm glad that Deke finally got to take him out. This is when the reveal of Mack's parents come, and he orders an abort on the mission in order to save them. Clearly, the Chronicoms knew that he would be the kind of character that would do this, and thus they chose his parents and not the others. Project Insight must be stopped at all costs though, and thus they launch the Zephyr and shoot down the rocket from the air, which reveals their position. In the stinger scene at the end of the episode, we see Nathaniel inquiring about Daniel Whitehall. You may remember him from earlier seasons, and he was fascinated by the Inhumans. Nathaniel clearly wants Daisy's powers, and this ends the episode on a big cliffhanger, with him potentially becoming a superhuman should he get his wish. Now, we will be talking about the promo for episode 6, titled Adapt or Die, so if you don't want anything ruined, then I highly recommend that you turn off now. Now, from the looks of it, after the attack on the air, S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra launch countermeasures against the Zephyr, which will bring it crashing down. It also seems like the Chronicoms have been replacing all of the agents at the Lighthouse with their own, and thus their new plan is to take down S.H.I.E.L.D. by sort of doing an invasion of the Body Snatchers switcheroo. Coulson also comes face to face with the big bad, and it does look like we're heading towards a cool episode next week. Anyway, that wraps up the latest entry, and obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, so make sure you comment below and let me know. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a thumbs up, and if you missed our analysis of any of the other episodes, then make sure you check them out after this. If you want to support the channel from as little as 99 cents a month, then please click the join button below. We massively appreciate it, and as a thank you, you get access to content early. If you want to come chat to us after the show, either follow us at Heavy Spoilers or click the Discord link in the description below. Every month we give away free movies to people who are subscribed to the channel, and this month you can win the MCU Infinity Saga box set, and all you have to do is comment on a video and make sure you subscribe with notifications on. The more videos you comment on, the more you have a chance of winning, so make sure you get involved. The winner is going to be chosen at random on the 15th of July, and the set will be shipped out from then to whoever gets the prize, so best of luck to everyone who takes part.